Hi.
We
Abraham.
are.
Oh. Good, me too. How can I stay as high as you? I don't have a question, but now you make me want to ask. How can I stay as high as you in earthly form?
Calibrate to who you really are. Calibrate to who you really are. Care about how you feel and do your best to feel as good as you can feel as often as you can. Esther's not there all the time, but she doesn't get very far from it before she course corrects. It really is about understanding that you are an extension of source energy and wanting to be connected to that. Yeah. It is as simple as caring about how you feel. But before you're willing to care about how you feel, you have to accept the value of selfishness as a premise. And that's a hard one for a lot of people to get over. And you have to be free enough of the humans that bind you with their determination that you think just like they do, to think outside that human box. We don't know what feels so complicated to people. In other words, you can be born in a religion and the people that fostered you there want to hold you there, and it's usually with a very well-meaning reason. Or culturally, there are all kinds of reasons, but mostly people just want you to not be trouble to them. That's usually the reason that most people, they just don't want you to be trouble to them. And so you have to get to the place where you understand that there is not trouble that you don't attract. There's no assertion of trouble. And that's a hard thing to accept because it looks like there is trouble that can be asserted. But we submit for sure, that trouble can't even look like it's asserted into your experience unless you've got a bag of marbles that is letting it in. And how would you have a bag of marbles that is letting trouble in? By looking at trouble, by talking at trouble, by cataloging and pigeonholing trouble, by pointing out trouble, by worrying about trouble, by condemning trouble, by blaming the troublers. And if you're not doing that, if you are focused in ways that you feel good, you are not letting in the trouble. We ask you to start with something easy. Don't start with the most troubling things. Start with something easy. Ask of yourself, say to yourself, I would like the universe to demonstrate to me its response to me. And so I'm going to find something to focus upon and give it enough attention, a minute or two, that I know I've activated in my bag of marbles, and then I would like to see what happens next. And we promise you that what will happen next, and usually fairly soon, is that subject that you have activated will start showing up, like South Mountain showed up for our friend. In other words, the universe will demonstrate to you what's active. Now, it's not what you've thought about the most, because often the things you've thought about the most, you've worried about too. So you have quite a mixed bag about money, about love. You don't have pure thoughts about those things that you want the most. But if you're thinking about feathers or blue glass or something that you haven't worried about. Esther and her friends played that game quite a bit. They'd get together, a few of them, and they'd focus us on some things that they'd like to see, and then they'd take off into the day and see how many of those things would show up. And we'll tell you how many, all of them. In the course of a day, roaming around, anything that's on your list without resistance. But you gotta accept it as your attraction, not fluke, not coincidence, not accident. When you deliberately think, and you think long enough that you feel anticipation about it, and then it shows up, and you connect those dots. I did this, I felt this way, and there it is. Now you've shown yourself how it works. So what are the factors that slow it down? Opposite thought. I would like a lot of money, but hardly anybody has it. I would like to be rich, but there's no inheritance for me. I would like to be rich, but I don't have an occupation that leans that way. And so you're thinking of what you want and contradicting it equally, and so nothing moves forward. You just got to do this part. I want, I like, and look for the existing matches. It really is not hard, but it does take understanding how it works and then doing it. That's it. Know how it works and do it. Know how it works and do it. Know how what works know how things come to you. Law of attraction? Yeah. So what do you do in order to engage the law of attraction on your behalf? You think of desires and you don't contradict it. You don't say, I would like to be rich, but rich people are hated. But Abraham, it's true. It's true. A lot of people do push against people who are prosperous. Well, then use that as your reason not to allow prosperity into your own experience. Whatever you're living is what mix you've got going on in your vibration. That's why when you get yourself in a real jam where you really, 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 really want something, energy starts moving. That's why, do you know that more people would rather have negative emotion than no emotion at all? And you know why? Because negative emotion makes it feel like something's happening. And you know what? It is. And this is the most important thing about that subject that you'll ever hear from us or anyone. The whole time that you're stirring up the stuff you don't want, without even knowing it, you're stirring up the solutions. When you're stirring up a problem, you're stirring up a solution. In other words, it's proportionate too. And so the more you really don't want that, the more you really do want that. And other way around. You've just got to figure out which way you're pointed and point in the direction of desire more. Point in the direction of feeling good more, you see. So prove this to yourself. Demonstrate this for yourself. Choose some subjects that you care about that you haven't got strong resistance about. Or better still, choose some subjects that you have no resistance about and play the watch the universe, give me what I want game. Watch the universe, give me what I want. Think outside the box. Ask for something that you have not seen before. Jerry and Esther were in Tucson. It's where they first went when they first got married. And there were these big saguaro cactuses, you know, the kind with the big arms that are out. Esther wanted one. She wanted to bring one home and plant it in her yard. And Jerry said, I don't think you can do that. I think they're protected. And Esther said, oh, well, how do you get one? And Jerry said, I think you have to get a permit. And Esther said, oh, well, I wonder where you get a permit. And then she said, well, how would you move one of those things anyway? They turned the corner, and there was one on the back of a truck being moved to another place. It was a truck that had these big claws that had apparently picked it up and put it on itself. And Esther said, I have never had that thought before. 2 blocks ago. And already the universe has delivered an answer. And that's how it happens. Prove to yourself how seen you are, how heard you are, how understood you are, how blessed you are, how capable you are of being or doing or having anything. But start with the things that you haven't been beating into the ground for your whole life. In other words, start with things that are easier. And in a little while, you'll have the certainty that the law of attraction is responding to you. Law of attraction is responding to you. And that's a lovely thing. But there's another element that we want you to leave here that's even more active than your awareness of the law of attraction. And that is the consideration of your inner being on your behalf. We want you to think about your inner being and what your relationship with your inner being is and how in this together we all are. We want you to think about how you came to be inspired maybe to something that was unimaginable. And that when you ask for it, that your inner being knew it. Knew it. And while you might have doubts about how to go about it, your inner being has no doubts. So your inner being takes your request, no matter how far-fetched it feels to you, and focuses upon it completely and purely, with no resistance. And in the same way that your Earth spins in its orbit in perfect proximity to other planets, universal forces go to work for you. And cooperative components are gathered for you. And your only work is to believe it the way your inner being believes it. Because when you believe it the way your inner being knows it to be, then there's no doubt within you. And then it shows up in your see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it experience. That's how it works. Nothing off limits. Nothing off limits. Anything that this time space can inspire within you. So what are some things that are inspired within you? What are some things that are inspired within you? Satisfying things to do, whether you call it work or play. Fun with other people. Being my best and bringing the best out in others. Seeing magnificent things come about that I am just beginning to focus upon. Feeling the power of my own point of attraction. Feeling the worthiness of me because I'm settling in to the understanding that my inner being has about me. Letting go of my guilt and shame because it is irrelevant to who I am now. And my inner being never has forgiven me because my inner being has never condemned me to begin with. Looking for things to applaud and advocate rather than things to condemn and protest. Feel your way into the collaboration and cooperation and consideration and calibration of your inner being. Feel your power. Feel your capacity for joy. Feel your capacity to enjoy a meal, or your capacity for clever things to flow from you, or your capacity to enjoy the cleverness of others, or your capacity to see the good around you. Get active in your bag, the things that you really want to see, and then watch them show up and connect those dots. I put that in my bag on purpose, and I focus wheeled it into place. And I focused it into place because I wanted to feel good. And look, there it is. And there it is again. And there it is again. You're creators, and you're not happy unless you're creating. And you are creators who have come to be of value. And you're of your greatest value when you are being yourself and creating. Esther heard someone say once, "You can rest in heaven, honey. Stay active. Work hard." She was saying to someone, "You can rest in heaven." And Esther thought, "I don't think that's how it works. I don't feel any lazy ones up there. I don't feel anybody resting. I feel eagerness and exhilaration and anticipation on our behalf. I feel clarity and focus and delight in new discoveries. I feel enthusiasm." Do you know that when you feel enthusiasm, do you know what's happened to you? You have calibrated to the vibration of your inner being, and you're feeling what your inner being feels. And do you know what worry is? That's your inner being nowhere in this mix. That's you out on the ragged edge. We've enjoyed this interaction more than any that has come before. It's our desire that today and tomorrow and thereafter, that you connect some dots that you established as a result of these conversations. It is our absolute knowing that your point of attraction has shifted, which means every relationship that you have is now going to demonstrate a difference, just as a result of this little bit of conversation that we've had. There is nothing that you're supposed to be doing, really. Don't make hard work of this. Don't study this. Don't try to figure it out. Don't try to remember all of these words. Just leave here wanting to feel good and doing your best to feel good. That's enough. That really is enough, and watch what happens. We are appreciating what you brought to this forum today. We appreciate the not spoken out loud, but the spoken very loudly vibrations that you have within you. We think this was co-creating at its best. And the appreciation that we feel, you might catch a glimpse of in the immediate future. There is great love here for you. And for now, we are complete.